All right, welcome back to Self Publishing Made Easy. I actually thought I was done after the last lesson, and then I remembered I never talked about audiobooks. And audiobooks are the fastest growing segment of the book market in the US. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense to ignore audiobooks. So, today I'm going to talk about a service that I use, some services you can use. And I just want to start out first by saying, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. Check out the links in the description. But let's start with the elephant in the room, which is the largest audiobook provider, Audible. I don't like Audible. I think their business model is outdated. You pay a subscription fee, yet then you still have to pay for credits. You only get so many books a month. Like, who are they to tell us how many books a month we can read before we have to pay more? Why is it that we can get a subscription for Netflix and watch as many movies as we want all day long, every day for the entire month? But when it comes to books, which are arguably better for your brain, they have this whole token system. So I'm not a big fan of Audible. However, you have to recognize it is the juggernaut. It's the elephant of the business, right? So when you are an author and you want to make an audiobook on Audible, they connect you with narrators. They allow narrators to audition for your book, and then you get to choose them. They help with the contract, so they make it very easy to do. But they have the royalty-free option, and I've done it from both ends. I've done it as an author and as a narrator because I wanted to try it out. And my recommendation is don't do it. Save the money until you can pay a narrator, do whatever you need to do, but you as an author, it's not worth having your book locked in Audible, because let's think about it. Audible is massive. The library is massive, and people have to pay with tokens for extra books. So why would they check out your book, which is, especially if you're some unknown indie author, why would they spend money or spend their tokens on your book instead of one of the big books being pushed by Audible? Audible also pushes books by famous people, books by big publishers, books by popular authors. They do not push indie authors in their search results, or when they're curating and telling you what recommending your next read. They're never going to recommend your book as someone's next read. So the odds of it being found, unless it's someone who knows you and you specifically convince them to go out and buy your book, they're not going to listen to it. So in a royalty-only agreement, you're not going to make much money, and your narrator is never going to make their money back. The hours they put in producing that book for you, yes, they agreed to do it. Again, I've done it. But I did it knowing that I'm never going to make that time back. I'm never going to get paid for that work, other than maybe a couple dollars here and there. The majority of the authors looking for royalty plan narrations are indie authors who can't afford it. So they do not have a following. They're not selling a lot of books. You're never going to make the money back as an author or as a narrator. And if you do it as an author, I think it's 7 years. You're locked into Audible for 7 years, and you cannot take your audiobook anywhere else. So for 7 years, your book is not going to be found or listened to in Audible. So what do you do? What's the answer then? Let's dive into it. All right, so Findaway Voices was the one I would have recommended in the past. Draft2Digital is partnered with them, so when you click create an audiobook with Draft2Digital, it connects you directly to Findaway Voices. But unfortunately, I believe it was last year, they were bought out by Spotify, and Spotify just got rid of the distribution or the production and is focusing solely on distribution now, which is unfortunate. So I had all these waiting to be basically until I had the money, and they had a whole system where you could choose narrators, ask them to audition for your work, and then they would handle the contract, the production, and all that stuff, and then distribution. Now they only do distribution. So you have to find a narrator elsewhere. You can do it yourself. You can find it through a gig site like Fiverr or Upworks or a marketplace. You could anywhere else you find it. Once it's done, then you can put it on Findaway Voices. But the great thing about it in the past was that it was an all-in-one solution. So you essentially just upload your audio files. They do a quality control check on them. So if you do them to ACX standards, and there's lots of videos on that, they're going to pass the standards check, and then they distribute to all of these people, including Audible. So you can post it on Audible yourself, or just do it through a distributor like Findaway, and they'll send it to all of these people. But you're only getting a royalty, right? Findaway is taking a cut. The other option now out there, I haven't used it yet, but essentially what Findaway Voices used to be is Authors Republic. They handle production and distribution, so you can, again, audition voice actors, narrators for your book, choose them, pay them, do all that through Authors Republic, and then they will distribute it. So distribution channels for them, essentially all the same ones. And the great thing is both Findaway Voices and Authors Republic distribute it to the library services. So for example, the book that I have on this one on Findaway, I went to my local library through their website. You can request a book. I requested the audiobook of my book, and it's now in the library. So I can now go to friends, family, local groups, or whatever and say, hey, my book is available in the library. And so far it's been checked out the majority of the time, which is pretty cool. So Authors Republic is another one. And they give you 70% royalties. So that's not bad, actually. You're getting the majority of the royalties for all of your sales. The direct sales, so that you can sell it directly instead of sending them out to a store, I used Awsound. And I really liked it. Actually, I still do. I really like it because someone can go, you can put this link on your website to click buy. You can either set up the purchase on your website if you've got WooCommerce or some other purchasing program set up on your website. They can buy it there, and then you pay Awsound for the delivery, or you can just send them directly to Awsound. They buy it, you set your price, and then they charge 20% plus 30 cents. So you can set your book price such that you're getting what you want to get out of it. So I was always telling everybody about Awsound. I've used it. It was great. And just today, earlier, when I was preparing for this video, I went into the FAQs, and I've learned that, right, they charge now $49 a year. I didn't pay that. So maybe I was grandfathered in. Maybe next year they will start charging me. Apparently I got in before they started that charge, which is too bad. So essentially I have, at $10 a book with their cut, I have to sell 6 books just to break even before I start making any money. So that kind of sucks. Here are their fees. But the great thing about Awsound and the problem that it solves is if you were trying to sell your book directly on a website, you can't just send people a folder with all of the MP3 files and have it play on their device. They won't be able to play it in one of the audiobook apps, and so it won't play in order. It won't constant play between the chapters. You can't adjust speed. It won't save their place. All the things you need for an audiobook, you can't do unless it's sending it to a specific program or app. So Awesound does that, and I'll show you what it looks like here in the app. All right, so this is my phone. So basically, Awesound sends you an email after you purchase it with the download link, and then when you click on the link, it asks you where you want it to load. You choose one of the podcast apps on your phone, whichever one you like the best or the one you use, and it will load it in that podcast. And then they handle piracy by sending an individual link to each person and monitoring those, so you can't. I guess if you're tech savvy, you could share it, but they monitor that for you, and they talk about that here. So you are able to play it, and you have all the features. Because it's a podcast app, it essentially has all the features that you need for an audiobook. You can choose your speed, your playback speed. It saves your place. You can look at all the files, all the things that you need. It has all the chapters there, and it'll just play it in order. So it starts down at the bottom, just like a podcast. You can choose to start from the beginning, and it'll play it all the way through, just like an audiobook player. So it works really well. Everything is great with Awesound. Just the only issue now is it costs you $50 a year to use. So I'll have to see if I continue using. If they start charging me that $50, if I'm not just grandfathered in, I may change my mind. Now, let me show you a different option for direct sales. Okay, you may remember BookFunnel I mentioned earlier when I was talking about ebooks. And I use Story Origin because for the price, you get a lot more features. For that same price, $100 a year, you get more features with Story Origin than you do with BookFunnel. BookFunnel now, it's in a beta right now, handles delivery of audiobooks. So you can set them up to buy on your website through different payment processors, and then they handle the delivery, which allows you, again, to open it in an app that works for audiobooks. So the same benefits of Awesound you can do through BookFunnel. The problem is they're making it, instead of including it in their plan, they're making it an add-on. And see, it still has all the same functions. Like in Awesound, you can create a discount code to give people free copies. BookFunnel, you can do the same thing, review copies, direct sales, all that stuff that you need for audiobooks, you can do through BookFunnel now. But they're estimating that when they go live out of the beta, they're going to charge $10 a month on top of your other plan. So if you're paying $100 for your plan, you're going to have to pay another $120 for the audiobook delivery. So for $220, or you could pay $100 for Story Origin that gets more features than BookFunnel, plus $50 at Awesound. For $150, you're getting more. So BookFunnel is an option, but I wish it was just included in their base price, and then that would actually be competitive or worth it. Another one I've never used before, but I've looked at, it just doesn't look super professional to me. But maybe it's great. If you've used Gumroad before, let me know. So it used to be, if you went into Gumroad, there was actually a separate link for audiobooks. Now it's just digital products. But BookFunnel is saying you can sell the digital products through your Gumroad store, and BookFunnel will handle the delivery of the audiobook. Otherwise, I don't know how it will work in BookFunnel. I'm going to try it out. Maybe I'll do another video if it works well. If you add it just as a digital product in the Gumroad's player, will it work? And the other bad thing about that is if it can only play in the Gumroad's player, how many people actually have that app? And how many people are willing to, if they buy that book from you, then go and download a special app just to listen to your book? Whereas with Awesound, they're using a podcast app they already have on their phone, because pretty much everyone has at least one podcast app on their phone now. So Gumroad is another option. I'm going to look into it more. If it's worth doing a video on, I will. We'll see. So the big thing is you want to be able to maximize your profits, right? So with selling through Gumroad, And distributing through BookFunnel is you're just paying whatever they charge for their transaction fee, but then you're paying the BookFunnel fee. Selling through Awesound, you're paying their yearly fee plus the transaction fee, but it's still better than the royalties you're getting from Audible, Books A Million, all the other distributors. All right, so those are some of your options for selling your audiobook directly or distributing it out to all of the stores or doing both. I'm always going to recommend that you own your own product so that you can sell it wherever you want to sell it. And doing the royalty plan through ACX, through Audible, takes that away from you. So if you can avoid it, my recommendation is avoid it. I know money is an issue, and it can always be an issue, but you can narrate your own books. And I will start producing some more lessons on how to do that. So stay tuned for those. If you're interested in those, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you have other programs that you use to sell your audiobooks directly, let me know. I'd love to hear them and try them out. I'm always looking for different revenue streams. Check out the links below. If you're looking for some merch, Support Indie Authors sticker, some other fun book nerd shirts and stuff, you can support me that way. That way I can keep these videos free. And really, I'm just trying to help people by compiling all of the research and time and effort that I've put into this so that you don't have to. So hopefully you enjoy. I'll see you next time on Self-Publishing Made Easy.